Hey guys, so today I've decided to try and swap out my Optiplex small form factor 7020 into this case right here. The Ions, I'm gonna have to check what it is again, KW10 I believe. Yeah, it's not gonna be a small feat because I'm gonna have to get all this stuff, well, half of it, because this, as you can see, the case is a mess. So many wires all over the place, but I'm going to have to try and keep everything that's attached to the motherboard and transfer it onto my new one. So this is the case. Got it for £42 from Amazon. It's a nice looking case. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to have any of the top ports usable because everything has to be attached to the motherboard in the Dell. So yeah, it's a nice looking case. It's pretty good quality, I have to say. All the cables we need there, which I probably won't be using. You got a slot there for the PSU. It's built pretty well, so for that price I can't complain. And you get 3 fans, you got the air vent at the top, and you've also got this dust filter, so it all looks good. You know, one thing to point out is it's really light, a lot lighter than the actual small form factor Optiplex case, which is absolutely crazy. So let's hope it all goes well. So, purchased my PSU. This is the Aries Gain AVG 650 watt 80 plus bronze from Amazon. This here is also something which is crucial. We're going to need to use this if you are going to attempt to do the same thing at some point. It is the 8-pin to 24-pin converter, because of Dell you obviously use the proprietary 8-pin to connect to the PSU. You're going to need this to connect to a normal PSU. So here it is, my lovely Dell Optiplex 7020, and I think we're going to start the process. So here comes the tedious task of getting everything unplugged and unscrewed from the Optiplex in order to get the motherboard out so I can get it into the new case. As you can see, I put a lot of LEDs and extra fans into my Optiplex, so taking out the motherboard seems to be a little bit difficult, but here we go. All out in one piece. I didn't break anything, so I'm happy with that. So it's now time to fit the motherboard into the new case. But before I do that, it's best if I get some of this dust off, because it did have a lot of dust on there. Here we go. So let's see if we can fit it all up. The only thing I would say is not all the holes line up correctly. So with this part, you have to take these bits off the Optiplex, because there is no other way to mount your CPU cooler onto the new case. So if you pop those off and you attach it to the back there and screw your cooler in, trust me, that's one headache less that you'd have to deal with. Alright, so in order to get the motherboard to run, you have to keep this part of the Optiplex, the USB connections, and also the power switch. They both have to stay attached to the motherboard, so they're gonna have to be kept in the new case with the power button sticking out somehow. And here is what I've done so far. As you can see, the screws are attached to the motherboard. Only thing left to do is plug in the power supply and hope for the best. One other thing to point out is everything, and I mean everything, has to be kept in. My GPU, I will be replacing that at some point. That's a 1050 Ti, low profile, very good GPU for small form factors. I had to fit it like this because I didn't have the longer back plate, but I will be swapping that over to something else. So we got the USB ports still attached, and the fan, I don't know what to do with this fan, but it has to be kept in, so I'm gonna have to figure that out as well. Okay, so with everything fitted in, it's ultimately a failure. I would say it was partly a success because I did manage to fit in the motherboard and all components attached to it. However, when I plugged in the PSU to the motherboard, there was a clicking noise. Eventually, I took drastic measures to try and troubleshoot why that was, and I plugged in the 24-pin tester plug into the PSU so it would kind of self-run just to make sure the PSU was okay, which it was. But what I forgot to do was take the tester plug out when I plugged in the CPU cable from the PSU into the motherboard, which must have sent through a high voltage and fried the motherboard. So it was a success, but ultimately a failure.